on day 8 of the GE2025 campaign. Now, as it enters its final stretch, I have a team from the Northeast to share how the hustings have been. Now, if you're here for the first time, I'm Natasha, host of The Usual Place. So in yesterday's episode, I teased about who will be on the podcast today. And if you guessed Team Workers' Party from Sengkang GRC, you got it right. I'm chatting with the Sengkang 4, He Ting Ru, Louis Chua, Jamus Lim, and the new candidate on the team, Abdul Muhaimin Abdul Malik. Hi guys, welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Thank you for being here. So we've got a lot to get into because it's day 8. Of the hustings, as I mentioned, and we're almost at the tail end. And a lot of issues have come up, from the implementation of GST, cost of living, political diversity, negative politics was a hot word yesterday. What is one issue that you feel needs more airtime or something that we need to deep dive into beyond the season, the election season? Jamus, go ahead.
I can start with this in part because I think this is something that over the past 5 years when we were talking with residents, it has been probably the hottest topic for us. Of course, many residents raise issues about their estate, but beyond that, it really is the big policy issue for us is the cost of living. And this is something that I had raised explicitly in one of my rally speeches recently. And I spoke about how this is something that pinches especially those in the middle class, those that are on the lower end of the income spectrum. They often have the benefit of having a number of voucher schemes and so on and so forth. And while there are some that cater to the middle class, many of them are feeling increasingly squeezed, especially those from the so-called sandwich generation that have both responsibilities to younger children as well as the need to raise, to take care of the elderly.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something that has come up quite a lot in our interactions, both with both with residents and also just daily interactions outside of election campaign. And just the other day, I think we were around Rivervale Plaza, and actually there was this incident that's kind of stayed with me as well because there was a lady and she came up and she said, she was just starting to share, some of her, her experiences. And, she said, look, we are really squeezed in the middle. I'm a mother, I've got children, but I've got elderly parents as well. And as she was talking to me, she also started to kind of tear up and she's like, I'm really, she started apologizing for getting emotional, but she said, I've really just put up with, I've just suffered and I put up with so much over the last few years, and I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it, and and that to me was, it was a very big moment from the campaign that really stayed, outside of everything. It tends to be, these little moments and our interactions with residents that really do stick together with us. Yeah.
Louis, do you want to add, or Muhaimin?
So basically, it's the same thing that when we are walking the ground, door to door with the residents, the main issues that are being highlighted by them is the cost of living, and then most of it is being captured under our manifestos. So do read up, and then hopefully you are persuaded to vote for us.
Okay. So since I have the 4 of you on the usual place, I want to get to know you as W. We're also nervous. No, I'm asking because as the 3 of you are first-time MPs who won Sengkang GRC in 2020, and you've had to navigate both doing constituency work and team dynamics from the start, right? Was there growing pains, or how has your working relationship changed from 2020 till now? And you have a new member as well. So how have you seen the team grow in terms of your relationship with each other?
Yeah, I can start us off. Again, I think a lot of what we do is directed by the needs of the residents. So, of course, we were elected for 2 main reasons. One being to raise issues in Parliament, and we take that very, very seriously. And the other, of course, is to be engaged in the state management. We had to set up a new town council. My colleagues can probably speak more about that. So, inevitably, there'll be any kind of any typical team dynamics where you may have disagreements here and there and so on. But what's important is that we keep our communication channels open. We have consistently spoken to each other, and ultimately we do have to make decisions together, collectively. So we take that process of making sure we come to a collective decision that sits comfortably with all of us very seriously.
Yeah. And I think that part is actually very important because we really do work together as a team, even though we have parceled out the estate into different divisions. So I'm on the eastern side, the Rivervale division, and on the other end that you have Jamus with Anchorvale and Ru at Buangkok and Min, Compassville and so on. Essentially, we do work together very closely and we are pretty much in contact with each other every single day. And
What's your WhatsApp group name?
Oh, that's for another time.
Okay, now you got me curious. But yes, Louis, you go ahead.
It's to a certain extent that, the most active chat groups are every single day. It's not with family, it's not with friends, but it's with these guys. And, a lot of people will say that, we are the Sengkang triplets, but actually we are the Sengkang 4. And Min has actually been with us since 2019, we're part of the original gang that have been walking in Sengkang, even before Sengkang GRC was a thing. Even for the four of us together, we've been working closely for almost about 6 years now.
All right. Min, as Louis mentioned, you're not new to the team, but did the team give you any advice on campaigning? Because they've done it before you, because then this is you're new to it. Yes. What did they tell you?
Not that many times.
Just one time, but you kind of veterans compared to it. Yes. So did they give you any advice on going into
There's certainly a few advice that they shared with me. So first and foremost is to smile more, because when I don't smile, I don't really look that pleasing, I guess. So then the other thing is, of course, to stay hydrated, get enough rest. But then I guess even having 5 hours of sleep is a luxury during this period of time. So that's a few of those advice that they shared with me.
And most importantly, you need to be yourself.
Yeah.
We have told him that.
We told him many times.
What does that mean, be yourself?
Well, I think Min has a heart for the residents, and he's a solid guy and he's dependable. So I think just don't apologize for who you are. He might some of us might feel a little less comfortable speaking or being in the limelight. So I think that's okay. But as long as you are responsive, and he has been very responsive to our residents over the years, and so when you speak to a resident, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Min, were you going to say something?
Nothing. Nothing else to add.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, Ru, Jamus, and Louis. The three of you were among the top 10 MPs who asked the most questions in Parliament. Did you realize that you were the MPs who were asking quite a number of questions in Parliament?
I think we realized that we were asking questions, a lot of questions. We don't necessarily keep count. It's not a contest per se. I think, as I mentioned earlier on, we take our parliamentary duties very seriously. We were elected first and foremost to be the voice of Singaporeans, and especially those who are residents of Sengkang. So when we formulate this parliamentary questions, a lot of them actually bubble up from our interactions with our residents when we do coffee shop walks, from house visits and the like. So it's not something that we necessarily come up with independently. Of course, there is a team behind us, and so on occasion there will be policy-related questions that emerge from current affairs in the news. So the campaign trail, as you know, has also raised some of these about the NTUC Allianz deal, the NRIC situation, and so on. So we have generally tried to be proactive in asking piercing questions when it comes to these things, but it's not because we want to clock in hours or numbers. It's more because we ourselves are driven by a passion to ask these questions. That's why we chose to sign up to become MPs. And so we take that responsibility seriously.
Yeah, so I think, we always, for us really, first and foremost is, do these questions, are these topics that matter to Singaporeans, and that, that's where our starting place. We don't, again, like as Jamus said, it's not a matter of, let's clock as many as possible. But I think it's just that naturally when you do the work and you speak to residents, quite a lot of issues come out. And sometimes they do come down and do say that, yes, there is this issue that I feel that, should be brought up in Parliament. So we always tell our residents, we really appreciate their feedback. I think there was some talk earlier as well about, for Meet the People sessions, they are not just for residents to come down if they need help. We also welcome residents to come down when they have any issues or have any, topics that they'd like to raise and bring to our attention. So we'll welcome, residents to come down and speak to us about those. And in fact, I think there have been a number of occasions where they'll come to us, they will kind of float the question to us, and of course we will then go back and check, do the research, make sure it hasn't been asked before, because there are actually also certain rules in Parliament that you have to follow to make sure that that you don't breach those rules. So I think one of the rules is that it's already been asked, you can't ask it again, so we just have to make sure that we follow those, and then we submit the questions to Parliament. And I think the one thing that people also sometimes don't realise is that we need to submit the questions a certain number of days in advance.
And do your questions get rejected?
I think
They get
refined.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's sometimes it's there is some back and forth
It's an iterative
with
process.
yeah, because sometimes there are certain standing orders that we feel that the clerks might feel that maybe your question has been like I mentioned earlier.
So
that,
do you get rejected if the clerk thinks it's like repeated?
Sometimes if they feel that it's repeated, but and often we can also say that actually it's slightly different, or we're coming at it from a different perspective, and the angle is a little bit different from what the previous question was. So there's a little bit of a back and forth, but the communication channels are open, and that's how the final question comes out. But there's always a bit of a lag. So. Because, of course, we understand that the ministries also do take time to prepare the answers to us. But that's just for questions, yeah.
All right. So beyond the team, I want to talk about the whole slate of candidates that have been fielded this time round. WP leadership has commented on what they think about who they have fielded. So let's have a listen to what Ms Lim and Party Chief Pritam Singh have said.
My friends, let me end on a broader and more serious note. In my 20 plus years with WP, I can confidently say that this batch of our candidates, both men and women, is the most promising batch that WP has fielded.
I think people look around. I can't speak for the other parties. I have respect for them because I know how difficult it is to get good candidates on your slate. But we've got the best people we can find, and I think this is the strongest WP slate many Singaporeans have seen in many years. And we do need to bring in these people into Parliament. And what I would say is there will not be any filibustering in Parliament by the Workers' Party. We're not going to jam up the government or block the government. I think we're going to behave faithfully in Parliament, faithfully towards the people of Singapore and the country itself.
So we started there with WP's Mama Bear. Speaking about, actually, what we didn't show was she was actually speaking about the slate of women candidates, right? So, Ru, I have this question for you, because in her speech, Sylvia reflected on the importance of having female representation in Parliament, right? And now that you're leading the Sengkang team, how do you plan on carrying that legacy forward? And, what kind of leader do you hope to be for the next generation of... It's a very heavy question. But yes, I'm asking because you're leading the Sengkang team, so, and yes.
Well, I think it's actually the last time round, I guess it was almost by default, because I happened to be the only the last round, I happened to be the only second time candidate out of the slate. So I guess since then I've been outvoted. No, I mean, I think what to me is important is being a bit more serious is the one thing I really do appreciate with our party and the leadership is it's not about the color of your skin, it's not about your age, it's not about your gender. It's really about who's the best person for the job. And I think, I can safely say that, for our party, if you look at the leaders that we put forward, how they choose the teams and how they choose the leaders, it's really, as much as possible, we try and make sure that the best person, or like the most suitable person for the role, tends to be there. And of course, we're always very conscious that we do need more women, because, I think in this term, I've been involved in quite a few, initiatives because we sometimes do get external kind of interparliamentary kind of like groups where, they do reach out to younger parliamentarians and also female parliamentarians to try and understand what more can be done to support more women stepping forward. So I've tried to take part in some of these, discussions, surveys, and sometimes we do have Zoom calls, and just to share, and even on the sidelines of some of our events, like interparliamentary conferences and events, there's also a bit of a push and to kind of like understand best practices from different places as well, and to share experiences, and it's almost to try and find out for some countries that are doing better than us, what can we do to kind of like see whether there's anything that we can improve on in Singapore. But also equally, I think it's also very important that, and this is a part that I think we can be happy about, is that there are also other countries who do actually say that we think that we can learn from you about what's being done to promote more female representation as well in the public space, and especially in politics. So it's a bit of a give and take, and I think it's also something that it's and of course we try and also take that back with working with our female volunteers and potential candidates and trying to persuade some of the women to step up. That's also some of the questions that they have. I think Sylvia and myself, we've always said feel free to approach either of us and ask us if you have any questions or any concerns. Our lines are open to you, and you can always approach us and ask any questions, and hopefully we'll be able to share some insight or some of our thoughts. Yeah.
If I may just add three quick points. One is that, of course, Ru as a leader is really consultative. So we come to decisions, as I explained earlier, very much collectively rather than in a top-down fashion. The second point is that we really have a lot of complementarities in terms of our skill sets. Ru has a legal background, and Louis has a finance background, an economics background, and now Muhaimin has an engineering background. So I think when we come to a decision, what's nice is that we bring these different professional backgrounds into our collective decision making. And my third quick point is that this is also the case for every slate, I believe, that the party puts forward. So we always find individuals that are diverse, not just in the more evident elements like, of course, gender and ethnicity and so on, but also in terms of how they would complement each other when they have to work together, both in terms of speaking up on issues in Parliament, but also in terms of their executive management and oversight of the Town Council.
Okay. Thanks for that, Jamus, on adding on to that. Because I was going to say, because Ru brought up Sylvia and the two of you talk together, and there seems to be like a mentor-mentee relationship there.
Well, I don't know. It's nothing formal. It's more like, ask us, like, again, with Min, it's, we are always here, we're happy to share our thoughts, ask us if there's anything you're not certain about. And of course, they also bring a lot to the table that, we might not have experience as well. So it's not a one way, like, I'm going to tell you what it's like during my time, and it's not it's not that kind of relationship. I don't think. It's more, just listening, because I think we can also learn a lot from all the other candidates, and because everyone's life experiences and journeys have been different.
Yeah, as the old guy, I'm the one that says in my time.
Yeah, so uncle preaches in the corner.
Uncle here.
I did want to ask about if there was anything that a senior WP leader has said to each of you personally that has stayed with you, like a piece of advice or something they've said about how you should be as an MP, how you should be as a WP member. Yes. Who's going to take this question? Okay, I feel like if I arrow someone, okay, Louis, go for it. Yes.
I wouldn't say, at least for me, it's not a single thing or a single sentence or word, but it's really that continuous kind of process whereby, there's just, a couple of us as MPs in the last term, we all work very closely together, not just with the Sengkang team, but also with the other MPs and the other CEC members. And there's this constant kind of consultative process throughout the whole party. So it's one whereby when it comes to Town Council matters, when we first took over Sengkang Town Council, they had a lot more experience in Town Council management. We had lots to learn from them. But at the same time, there are also other people who are professionals in their own fields. And as MPs, we have to speak up on all issues that actually concern Singaporeans. So when it comes to, I have a finance background, but when it comes to something in the medical field or when it comes to health-related issues, there are other members that we do speak to who are able to to advise us accordingly on what's really happening on the ground in terms of what the industry is facing, what the people involved are facing. So I think it's this general sense of kind of that collaborative culture, that willingness to kind of speak to one another as a peer, rather than like senior junior kind of relationship where we all kind of work together and pull together as a team. I think that really is that spirit that it's embodied in all that we do, more so than any catchphrase or buzzword.
Yeah.
So, Min, you're new to the team.
Yeah.
Did a senior? Do you get advice? From,
Okay, so basically, I've been with Town Council since 2015. So I've been working with Mr. Pritam and Sylvia and the whole alternate team for almost 10 years already. So basically, it's like Louis mentioned, it's not one specific word or phrase that captures me, but basically how they portray themselves, whether in Parliament or whether when they are attending to residents' feedback, and also how we go about to resolve their issues. So that is what I look up to, and then that's how I want to basically do the same thing as what they've been doing for the past 10 years. Or for them, it's 14 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, no, I think for me, I think one of the things that I guess I don't know, it's a piece of advice, but I think just before 10 years ago now, before I first ran for Parliament, I do remember that at the time, our Secretary General was Mr Lau, and he did also say that stay grounded. Sometimes in the middle of an election campaign, emotions are running high. People do actually, obviously people do get, feel very strongly and passionately about things. But, just he did say, as long as you know yourself why you are here and what you are, why you've decided to stand up, just hold on to that, and that will kind of pull you through no matter what. So I mean, to me, I think that was something that really stuck in my mind. And, just say, stay grounded, don't get carried away. Whatever, whether it's because you're being attacked or, because you're getting a lot of, I guess, the rallies do tend to be very, well attended, and, emotions run high. And he just, he did say that, this is something that new candidates, at the time I was a new candidate, he kind of feels that something that he needs to impart to new candidates as well. Yeah.
So Ru stole my thunder in citing Mr. Lau. So mine was experience with Mr. Lau as well. And one of the things that the party does is that over the course of the year, we have outreach by selling our party newspaper called The Hammer. And it goes, we sell it for essentially $1 at the time. And I remember one of the things I would say was when someone asks, how much is it? And so typically this would be in Chinese. And I would say, 1块而已. So it's only $1. And I remember he explicitly told me thereafter, 不要讲值而已, 1块还是钱. So it's, don't just say $1 only, because $1 is still money and it means something to people. I think that really struck home that we should never make assumptions about what someone's individual condition is. And more importantly, when they support us with $1, for them it may be a very large part of their daily expenses. And yet they are willing to support us in that way. So we should never take that for granted, the support that we receive on the ground, the support that we receive from our voters. Not for a moment do we ever think that this is in the bag, or we take their support for us for granted.
All right. Jamus, let's stay on you for a little while, because back in 2020, you were the breakout star of online, and some people call you Oppa after your roundtable debut. This time round, the internet is buzzing over a new face, Michael Thng. Who is running in
Jamus 2.0.
Yeah, oh, okay. Did you give him any advice about handling the roundtable?
So we met and we spoke more generally about policy issues. Michael can handle himself. He's a smart cookie, and he can definitely take on questions and also fully understand and absorb those questions. But because he's new to the whole process, he wasn't privy to how many of these policy positions that the party had come and arrived at, or rather, how many of the party positions had been arrived at. So we felt that it was important for us to sit, and it wasn't just myself, but Louis, as well as Gerald, who's the head of policy, sat together and with him to just give him a sense of just how we think about these policies. We, of course, encourage him ultimately that he had to own his own positions and be able to explain and defend our party's positions, but ultimately he needed a little bit of that context and background. That's what I think we provided him. Not so much. I wouldn't be able to give him catchy phrases to deploy that he. I'm happy to say came up with all those all on his own.
All right. So interestingly, for the first time ever, we have a comment from our YouTube chat because this is live. So and it's directed. Well, it's not about Jamus, but it's about the roundtable thing. And this user named Pikachu Lover, Pikachu Lover 1052. Oh, are you too? Oh, right.
You'll take the question even without knowing what
the question
This
is.
is just error. Okay, Pikachu Lover, this is your question. What was the party's thinking behind getting Michael Thng instead of Jamus on the media roundtable? Was it about giving younger people exposure? Also, on a side note, someone shouted out Jamus's socks. Actually, can I tell y'all that they all have very
just
cute
got to make
socks.
sure I pull them up so that I don't reveal anything.
All right. So the question, was it about giving younger people exposure by sending Michael to the roundtable?
Well, the short answer essentially is yes. And I think if you look at the Chinese session that happened last night, we sent Eileen Chong as well. So she's also a new face that we sent to the Chinese roundtable equivalent. And I think we do believe that, with the current slate of candidates, they have a lot to offer. And we also want to be able to share with fellow Singaporeans that, look, it's not just about Oppa as much as as much as it's the Lao Jiao around. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of, very passionate, very talented Singaporeans who are willing to step up. And I think it's important for us all to see that, just as how the Sengkang team is not just one person, we all work together as a team, and it's really about, each and every one of us playing our part to step up for the party and to all do our own thing.
I think it's interesting this election it's not this election, but every election, someone becomes in the spotlight, and it goes across different parties and whatever. And Jamus, you were in the spotlight in the last election.
If you say so.
I mean, there were memes about you, even now when you do doorstop and you stare lovingly at, and everything's a thing, yes. Is there a certain pressure to be a certain kind of MP with, or a public figure with everyone watching you? I don't know, I can open this up to the crowd.
No, but it actually, surprisingly, and this is perhaps because we think like a little bit like a Borg here and there, but I would absolutely agree with Ru that you just have to be yourself. You can't be two things at the same time. It gets very, very tiring. And so I guess for those of us that know me well enough, they know that not that I routinely look lovingly at Louis when he speaks Mandarin, but that I'm pretty transparent, and if he's delivering something that is really impressive, I am genuinely proud. And I would say this about Muhaimin when he speaks Malay, because despite being a Peranakan, I just understand enough when my grandmother yells instructions at me, and so I'm very impressed when someone speaks fluent Malay. So it's one of those things where I'm who I am. I think we all are who we are, and I guess I have quirks. People pick up on those quirks. I don't know.
All right. I want to take stock of the last 5 years of WP in Parliament. The team has lost MPs. There were multiple court cases, and it has been a very eventful one, as I said, over the past 5 years, right? So looking back on it, was there some lessons learned, or with hindsight, would the team have done anything differently? Because y'all did lose a teammate. So tell me about how the past term has been.
I mean, I think it's, look, we have gone, like you said, it has been an eventful time. But I think what I can say, and I think the same probably applies for Jamus and Louis, is that our focus always has been, we were elected because, the people of Sengkang put a trust put their trust in us. They took a leap of faith, and I think it was always our ultimate goal. And I think not just the three of us, but the team that works together with us. We've got volunteers, we've got, so many people kind of like as part of the Sengkang team. So normally, even if you do see, the four of us up here as the candidates, I think it's very important as well that to know that we are actually supported by people who actually do so much work in the back, and and really they are so much. I mean, I can't emphasize how much they are the backbone of what we do, even though a lot of them don't want to be and don't like to be in the limelight. They don't like any kind of attention on them, and they just do the work. But coming back to the point that I was making, it's really that the people of Sengkang trusted us. We were, I guess, unknown. It's a new GRC, lots of first-time candidates, and then 3 of them are first-time candidates in the team. But when they took that leap of faith, it was really our aim and our objective that, we would do whatever we could, whatever was humanly possible in our power to make sure that we don't let them down. And I think, and that's really what we focused on. So, and having the team there who stuck with us through, ups and downs, I think it's just something that, all of us can feel like very, very grateful for. So it's really like, it's we just didn't want to let people down, making sure our residents are taken care of, making sure that we took our parliamentary and legislative duties seriously. That's really the thing that drove us forward. And of course, the thought that we were doing our small part, to kind of build a country that we want our children to grow up in.
I would just second that. And if you think about, over the last couple of years, yes, there have been many incidents, but with every incident, I think the party, our volunteers, we all rallied together. And I think we are really grateful for the support of all our volunteers. If you look at this GE, if you look at the number of people kind of supporting us in our day-to-day walkabouts, we are a small team, but we are so thankful for each and every one of them for kind of supporting the work that we do. And when it comes to Sengkang, for example, Min step up as the IC for Compassville, and the rest of the party, the CEC members, cadre members, all of us came together, to support with house visits, meet the people sessions, and I think we are very grateful for all the support that we've had from our own volunteers, our own members. And so it's really what Ru said about how we cannot just take this setback and just not do anything about it. We really still have that duty to our residents, and we cannot let them down. So that's a very important point. And just to add on, wearing my finance hat now, I think that's there's this investor in the US, Howard Marks. Whenever you look at the process of investing, you always think about how a certain stock managed to double or triple in a certain amount of time. But then, of course, there will always be stocks that kind of crash in value. But do you judge the outcome? Do you judge an investment based on its outcome or based on the process? Because sometimes it could really be a fluke. It could be something unexpectedly bad or good that happens. But over the long term, if the process actually works out, then you will be able to be you will be able to achieve better outcomes rather than having, being lucky all the time or unlucky all the time. And so it's through this iterative process that, with every, event that happens, we all learn from it. It's a learning journey for all of us, and that's how we refine the process along the way and try to make sure that we kind of take something out of it.
Okay, so I have to ask about something that came up early this morning, because your colleague and Jalan Kayu SMC candidate, Andre Leo, he apologized for his use of vulgarities and inappropriate remarks in some text messages that were leaked. How will the party address this with 2 days of hustings left?
Well, not surprised that it came up. But I'll just say this. Look, it's, from what I understand, we are looking at private messages sent to close friends in a closed Telegram chat group, which happened a couple of years ago. We all express ourselves differently, but I think we are also, in a kind of closed chat group such as Telegram amongst close friends. I do believe that we all want to be authentic and want to be ourselves in front of our own close friends. And that's something that has happened. It somehow got leaked. But I think what's also important is that last night or early this morning, he has taken ownership of the issue. I think he has apologized for his behavior, and as far as I can see, such language was not used in any of the volunteer chat groups or with residents.
Okay. I want to quickly round off with this. Workers' Party has moved into new constituencies like Punggol, Tampines, and some voters may feel like they are being asked to choose between keeping a minister in parliament or electing more opposition voices. And that's why I mentioned earlier, the conversation about political diversity has come up quite a bit during this election. So how would you respond to that dilemma for voters? It's just arrow Jamus right there. Okay, Jamus. Yes.
For me, I don't think there is truly a dilemma. I think if we have confidence that the ruling party can function, and we believe that they have such a large majority, a super majority in parliament, that they have absolutely no difficulty function with within the ambit of those that they have elected, that they will continue to be able to deliver in terms of governance, even in the absence of one minister and so on. What is, we believe, even more important is that you have these alternative voices, because the existing set of voices all tend to think in a very similar fashion. They're governed by similar philosophies, and many of them rose through the ranks of, say, the civil service or the military, and they have been conditioned to think in a certain way. And where I think the Workers' Party comes into the picture is that we attract candidates that are of very different, very diverse backgrounds. We have many private sector candidates, those that have significant experience working in the private sector. We have those that think, have lived abroad and think differently in certain key issues. And of course, we are a left of center party, so we tend to lean toward that element in terms of our political philosophy. And we think that it's far more valuable to have these additional diversity in Parliament because, and I'll use a word that Prime Minister Wong said, we believe in unity, absolutely, but we believe in unity in diversity. And that diversity will actually make us stronger, not weaker. So if we believe that there is value to approaching difficult, complicated problems in the 21st century with as rich a slate of options as possible, with as diverse a set of viewpoints that we can pull together to tackle these evolving challenges, then we must have, by definition, a much richer set of voices. And we believe that the Workers' Party offers those. So I don't see it as a false dilemma at all. In fact, I think that we, by putting in a balance, a greater balance in Parliament, we will bring the country forward in a much better way.
Well, I have to say that the PAP also has a diverse slate, which is what they will say, because they have brought in not just people from the civil service, they have also people from the military, but they also have people from the private sector. So how does that differ?
So a quick response to that is very simple. When push comes to shove, the PAP, just like the Workers' Party, will exercise a party whip. And that means that everyone votes along the same lines. Whereas go ahead.
No, I mean, I think very clearly, you could have backbenchers from the PAP, government backbenchers, raising all sorts of concerns, and they might raise, normally it's clarifications in parliamentary lingo, but ultimately, as Jamus says, when push comes to shove, the votes are counted, and when we feel that something being proposed is not right for Singapore as the Workers' Party, we will actually register our dissent by voting against, the measure. So the most obvious example was the raise of GST at that time to 9%. Yeah.
So it's absolutely that. Is that we have the freedom and the flexibility to vote differently, and we take that very seriously. That's the reason why we don't routinely vote against the government, because we believe that there's significant value in sending a signal that this is an issue that Singaporeans should pay attention to, because the Workers' Party has deeply considered this, and we cannot vote in favor, and hence we have voted against. That standing up, sometimes literally, and being counted is what distinguishes what would be a typical PAP backbencher from what we offer. In addition to the fact that, as many of us have seen, as your newspaper has reported, we routinely also ask quantitatively many more questions and we speak on many more bills than the average PAP backbencher.
All right. So on that note, before I let you get back to Sengkang GRC, what will you all be up to for the next 2 days? Because it's the last 2 days of GE 2025. What will the Workers' Party be up to in terms of rallies?
Oh, wow. So I think we haven't I'm not sure as of now whether we've confirmed the location of our last rally, but we will have a last rally tomorrow night. So that would be, just before cooling off day. So that would be the last rally. So we will definitely be there. And as for the rest of the time, we're just going back to constituency, carrying on our engagements, trying to meet as many residents as possible. So that's really just, the plan that we have.
Okay. Yeah. Before I let you go, I keep saying I'm going to let you go. I will let you go. I will let you go. But I do have one last thing I want to do because I have a bowl of get to know you questions. Okay.
Right.
Ru, you got to pick one question. And then the whole couch answers
right.
it.
The whole couch answers
and just pass it to me and I'll read
Okay.
it. Oh, okay.
So it's one question for all of us.
One question, everybody answers the same question.
So it's self-inflicted.
Well, okay,
pain.
right. Okay, so
If she picks,
That's your trick, right?
badly. Oh, okay, this is a good one. What is one app on your phone you wish you didn't use so much? Oh.
One app. Wonderful.
Okay. Wow, it sends everybody into like a thinking state. Yes.
Here's it. For me, obviously it's a social app, right? So whether it's Facebook, Instagram. But at the same time, as an alternative party, as the minority party, it is really important for us to get our message out on our social media as well. So I wish that I didn't spend as much time doom scrolling one after another, but at the same time, it is also a key part of our job because communication is so important in getting our message out. So we take that element of our job seriously. So I don't want to go as far as to say it's a necessary evil, but it is definitely something that we have to do. But at the same time, one can become sucked in.
All right. Louis, what is it? What is it? Yeah. Everybody's got to answer. Nobody gets to...
it's definitely got to be WhatsApp for me. So, I think all of us are facing it, right? You're in tons of different chat groups and you've got lots of messages coming in all the time. And I think if you think about the party's philosophy, we always believe in being on the ground, in meeting residents face to face, whether it's Meet the People sessions or our Sengkang conversations alike. And I think sometimes as we kind of, even amongst our close friends, right, we kind of text each other much more than we even see them in person. And so it's something which I feel that if given a choice, it is much better for us to be able to talk about things in person, whether it's with our family or whether it's with our various volunteers and party members. So that's just one thing for me.
You need a WhatsApp timeout. Yasmin, what is it for you?
For myself, basically, my wife always told me not to watch too much YouTube. So because I like to watch a lot of music shows.
What are you watching?
Like rappers, Harry Mack, and then all those.
Yeah,
No, I don't rap. I can't rap. So basically, she told me not to watch too much of those and instead listen to all those the rallies and all. So to prepare myself, so now I'm pivoting towards that.
She's giving you homework.
Yes.
It's like if you're going to watch
We
YouTube.
didn't even give
So that's the kind of support that my wife's brought in for this campaign. So I'm really grateful that she's always there for me, even though she's not being seen anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, Ru, what is the app for you that you need to get off?
Something slightly different, and I think actually, to be honest, I think camera. So I'm going to go with something a little bit different, and I'll explain why. Having all of us having young kids in the age of smartphones, I think there's always a temptation to take 1,000 photos of your children, take 1,000 photos of everything that you're doing. And sometimes I feel that even like when you go to a concert, what's everyone doing? Everyone's whipping out their phones, recording the video, like trying to record everything. And I think sometimes we really lose the moment. And it's a balance, right? Because of course you want to have those memories, and sometimes when you're down or when you're upset, you it helps. you take up your phone and you see pictures of like happy times, and I think that's it's important. But if we kind of overdo it, we don't really like the moments go by, and we are so stressed trying to capture that perfect moment that you don't really fully you're not present and you're not fully there. And I think as young parents, I think probably a lot of us feel that as well. And yeah, so that's
I mean, my camera is photos of overflowing trash can or peeling paint.
Oh, you're snapping stuff around the
estate
stage.
issues that I have to
be
send
honest,
on
yes,
to
there is a lot of
for rectification.
pictures of, like rubbish bins and
I thought everybody was going to say TikTok, but okay, great.
Clearly, uncle here.
All right. Well, thank you very much for dropping by. I'm going to let you get back to Sengkang. Have a good one
Thank
out
you,
there.
Natasha.
Stay
Thank you,
hydrated.
thank you,
Listen,
thank you.
No worries. Thank you for coming on.
And thanks for joining us.
Right.
Or maybe she's supposed to say that.
Well, it's the final day of GE 2025 tomorrow. Well, it's the final day of the campaign tomorrow. And if you have been keeping up with our socials, you'll definitely want to tune in. Some of our young journalists who have been covering the election on TikTok and IG are dropping in, and I'll be talking to them about the election season. So I'll see you tomorrow at noon, live for one last time, right here on the Straits Times podcast channel. I'll see you tomorrow.